You're not gonna believe this. We flew to Texas to ride horses with Hasidim, eat mouth-watering kosher barbecue, and meet the local Jewish pioneers who made the community stand out.
So, how did we get here? Yaakov, talk to me. What's got you down?
I don't know, Doc. I mean, I'm just thinking about these interviews I'm doing in the different Jewish communities.
You get a $2 Carlos, where are you from?
I feel like I'm not doing them justice. I'm confined to 90 seconds. So I think I have the solution. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna travel to different Jewish communities around the world. We're gonna meet the locals, tell their story, and show off their beauty. Today, we head to Texas.
When I think of Texans, I think of freedom, barbecue, guns, God, and Southern hospitality. Texas Jews have to fall somewhere in the mix.
I'm not falling off, please stop!
This is Houston local, Hasidic YouTuber, cowboy, Shlomi Zines.
Okay, no more!
What does Hashem instruct the Yidden to do in this week's parsha?
He invited us to go horseback riding with him.
Shlomi and I are opening up one of the most wild businesses you've ever heard in your life. Tell them about the Strammel idea.
It's the Strommel.
The Strommel. Okay,
Yes,
Nu, give me some
straw hat,
details.
Strammel-like concoction meant to dispel the heat in the intense Texas summers.
Yossi, our videographer, thought it would be a good idea to get footage while on horseback.
It's my brand, don't steal it.
Dude,
Shuey stayed on the ground to grab the wide shots.
Coming the Heimische Cowboy with Shlomi.
As a travel YouTuber, Shlomi has traveled to many places around the world. I was curious why he chose to move his family to Texas.
It's attracting people who are looking to be part of a very close, tight-knit community. That's why I'm here. It's also very easy to get distracted. You can really miss out on like the here and now. So,
Living in the present.
The boys were getting antsy for an adventure, so we headed out to the middle of nowhere, Texas, in ranch country. The reason we're out here is because Yehuda Istrin has a kosher Wagyu company called Holy Wagyu. He invited us to come to the ranch where his cattle were being raised.
So Yehuda, you came down from Dallas.
So yeah, I drove down from Dallas and I live there now. I'm originally from LA.
I was so curious how a boy from LA got into the cattle business in Texas.
So I moved out here and I was working with a bunch of physicians and I wear my yarmulke and it's like, everybody's like, can you eat this? The drug reps are bringing in all this food into the offices and I'm like, I'm there with my like hard-boiled egg and my deli meat sandwich and just like, and all the doctors are like, Yehudi, this barbecue's awesome. I'm like, I can't have any, it's not kosher.
And yes, you guessed it, Yehuda started a kosher meat business. He purchased some Wagyu cows, partnered up with the Flying Cattle Ranch, and the rest is history.
This is a third generation ranch, so my wife's grandma and grandpa bought this ranch back in the, I think, late 40s, early 50s.
Russ and his wife took over the Wagyu ranch and hired Cole to help run the whole operation.
We treat our cattle kind, we treat the people kind. To his point, you know, it's not just a skill or a task, it's patience, it's treating people well, the relationships you build, you know, day in, day out.
They clearly loved the work they do, and it was amazing to see how much respect they had for the animals and the land. Yehuda summed it up perfectly.
When I started getting into this, I really started seeing the hand of God and Hashem in everything, is because in the Shema, it says, Esa b'sadcha livimtecha, grass in the field for your animal. Never is that more appropriate, and are you more reliant on the rains that come from above?
So here's the real question.
Yeah.
How do you get such an excellent mustache?
You have to like the beans that allow you to go here, and you say you just can't do a beard just like SpongeBob.
After a long day on the ranch, we were treated to an array of Wagyu steaks barbecued by pitmaster Yehuda. So we were heading back to where we were staying, which gave me the chance to work on my southern accent.
We don't got enough time. We gotta go back up north. Gotta hang out with them Yankees. So I figured, let's just boil some peanuts and just.
Sounds like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Listen, stop me with the gopher. I'll slap you silly with a wet sock.
Later that night, we were invited for a barbecue with Michael Greenberg and his wife. They were super sweet and smoked us an incredible feast. The food was unreal. I dare to say, the only real way to end a day in Texas. Early the next morning, we headed for Galveston, Texas. So you might be wondering, how did Jews end up in Texas? The truth is that there were Jews here since the 1500s. But one of the largest influxes of Jews to the south happened an hour from Houston in the port of Galveston in the 1940s.
Behind me is the United States Custom House. This is where Jews in the 1940s, they walked through these very doors and got their citizenship to the United States. And that's where a lot of Jewish American families' stories start here in America, right in this building. Pretty amazing. It's on these very streets that a lot of Jews that we know today that came through these ports, their families, their great-grandparents, their grandparents, these were the first American streets that these Jewish families landed on.
Close to 80 years later, the Jewish Texas community is thriving. We all know about Southern hospitality. However, my next stop is about to redefine what that all means.
This is Aishel House, Chabad at the Medical Center, Aishel House, and we take care of patients and their families who are here, who come to the largest medical center in the world. We have many families who need to stay here for an extended period of time, and so we're a Bikur Cholim hospitality place, as well as a shul and a community for the neighborhood around us. We have 23 apartments, and our average stay is like 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
So every apartment has their own kitchens, and we have a mikveh here and a shul. Kitchen, we send out an average of about 200, 250 meals every week out to the hospitals and to people who are staying here. And we provide a home away from home for people, a place with a heart, you know, with Yiddish hearts.
We take care of mind, body, and soul. So we have food. We also have to deal with whatever news people are getting or dealing with.
Wow.
And then we also have the neshama part. Like we have some Yidden who found their journey during a very difficult time.
I personally feel like I would get burnt out from this day in and day out. How do you fill yourself and to continue?
When are you standing strong, all of you? Is when you're lifnei Hashem lekeichem, when you recognize every day that you're standing with Hashem. There are times when it's hard. There are times I've cried into my pillow when people got bad news.
Or we can't come out of the office because we're just so broken, and you have to meet everybody else.
But you have to keep the focus. You have to remember that it's not you, it's not about you, it's about Hashem, and it's about His beautiful kindlach that you're taking care of. And that's it.
The Lazarovs left us amazed. It was such a powerful experience. The stereotype goes the Texans love their right to bear arms. So when I heard there was a guy in the community who ran a private security company, I had to go meet him.
Hey, holy brother, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Yaakov, this is Shui and Yossi.
Howdy.
Howdy.
The plan was for Yonah to take us to the range and to show us how to use a firearm responsibly. But before we did that, he showed us around the office and sat down for a quick chat about the concept of firearms and Judaism.
If you think about like the Maccabees, or you think about like King David and Samson, all these guys, like they were warriors that carried a weapon on them, right? So in Texas, obviously the gun culture, I would say, is it's you know, it's about, you know, personal responsibility and the freedom to carry and all that. Do those two things overlap in your mind, like Judaism and the right to carry? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
In Judaism, we have responsibility to look out for our life. Right, so halacha, for instance, there's to go out hunting for wild animals. There's tons of response on it. Your knowledge is not just like simple, because it is inherently a dangerous. There are risks. So you're not allowed to take blatant risk. It's not a Jewish thing. It's it's a very unpopular opinion, but it's an outright sakana for the amount of people that are carrying guns with little to no training.
A fashion piece. The new Calvin Klein release.
Yonah stressed the importance of responsible security measures. If your shul or organization plans on having a security team, it's essential to have proper training and to practice consistently.
Actually have an amazing grip.
Having a good grip?
Yeah. You cannot go to shul without proper training.
What are the Rabbanim saying in our community?
So the general opinion is that for someone that can safely operate use the gun and knows what to do, it's a mitzvah to wear it.
Our next stop was Buckys, a Texas staple and an absolute culture shock for me and the boys.
This is by far the largest gas station I've ever seen in my life. There has to be There's gotta be 100 pumps here. It literally goes, I don't know if you can see this, it literally goes down from there all the way down to there. It's like half a mile. It's insane. Everything is larger in Texas. I'm just looking, I don't know if I could eat it because it's not kosher, right? This isn't kosher. Yeah. Thank you though, it looks beautiful. It's good, yeah? Do you think it's hard to pick snacks in the East Coast? I've been up and down every single aisle. This convenience store is the size of a Walmart, and I'm having a hard time leaving. But we're scanning and we're finding kosher products all, like, have you ever seen this? Peanut butter cream pie, OUD. Boom, we're trying it.
We stocked up on a bunch of kosher snacks. We were ready at a road trip to our next stop. Religious freedom is a gift God gives us all in this generous country. Even in Jester 3, a prison right outside of Houston, we were meeting up with Rabbi Goldstein, the lead consulting rabbi for the Texas prison system. In short, his job is to make sure that Jews in prison can practice their Judaism.
How are ya?
How are you? Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, nice to meet you.
It's Monster.
Oh, it's good. I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you.
What are you nervous about?
I don't know. Just nervous.
You never been in prison before?
He told us about his amazing work. However, one story blew our minds.
I call it the Bar Mitzvah on death row. So I got a phone call that there was a Yid on death row, and I hadn't recognized his name. I get a roster of all the Jews in the system. There was a Yid that called me, and he told me that about this Jew on death row. He's working for a organization called Project Innocence that are trying to help people get off of death row. So he told me about this Yid. His last name was Feldman, and I hadn't heard of him. He wasn't on my roster. But I called his mother, got the information, and yeah, they were Yidden from Dallas. Found out that he had never had a bar mitzvah, and his execution date was looming. It was like a few weeks away. So I made it my thing that the mother had told me two things. That number one, he wants to be cremated, and number two, he had never had a bar mitzvah. So those two things became, because
like your mission.
Yeah, b'hashgacha pratis. If that's what I'm told, that means that's what Hashem wants me to deal with.
Wow.
So it was actually a very, very intense situation, because till we were able to secure what's called a person-to-person visit, because in death row, generally you're through a glass or through wires. But here, I had to actually put on the tefillin.
You had to wrap it
on him. I have to wrap, I have to touch him. So they arranged it, and it was in like the barber shop of the death row.
Were you nervous?
I was nervous because it was like very intense. And they bring him in. He's with chains, chained in his hands, chained in his feet, chained in his stomach, and they sit him down. And I had the other contract rabbi, Mendy, was with me, and for backup, and we were like both sitting there. And I remember his first words to me. First of all, they told me I have 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm like, okay, the clock begins now, you know?
Wow.
So I like to have all this to accomplish in this little bit of time. And the guy really, to me, knocked it out of the ballpark at the beginning. What was it? He said, guys, I'm not really interested in Judaism, and if you're gonna start pushing Judaism at me, we're gonna end the meeting right now. So I'm thinking to myself, oy vey, I'm here, I'm the rabbi.
Trying to wrap him on.
I'm gonna put on tefillin, and what am I gonna do? So, you know, one of my biggest Yetzer Hara is sports. So I'm like, okay, I'll just talk to him about sports. So he's from Dallas. I grew up in Dallas for part of my life. So I started talking about the Cowboys and all these other things to make him excited. And then I was trying to play mental chess with him. So every once in a while, I'd try sneaking in something, but it wasn't working. And at one point, he got really mad. He banged on the table and says, I told you not to talk about Judaism. I'm like, oh, okay. So one thing is, then all of a sudden I had this light go off, bing. What was it? His mother had told me that he was pen paling with somebody who was into Kabbalah. But I tried to see what I'm gonna do with that. So I said, hey, I heard that you like Kabbalah. Out of the blue, I just told him in the conversation. So he lit up, Kabbalah, I love Kabbalah. So I said, what do you love so much about Kabbalah? He says, I love the Hebrew alphabet. I said, what's your favorite letter? He says, my favorite letter? And I'm waiting, a bated breath. What letters? What is he gonna say? What is he gonna say? He goes, my letter? Shimmel. And I looked at him, Shimmel. Did I miss a day of Hebrew school or something? Shimmel. So I said, Shimmel. So I said, Shimmel.
Draw it.
So he goes like this. He takes his fingers from his cuff his handcuffs, and he goes like, the shimmel. So I said, the shin. Oh, the shin. That's right, the dreidel, the nun, gimel, hey, shin. I got confused.
All right, wow.
So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you like the letter shin. I said, why do you like the letter shin so much? He says, I heard in one of the Kabbalah books that King David had a shin on his shield. And King David was a warrior, and I'm a warrior. This is what the guy's telling me. So I said, you're a warrior? Like King David? You want to see something cool? He said, yeah. So I unzipped my tefillin, I took out the Shalrosh, and I said, check this out. He said, look at this. He says, that's the letter. I said, exactly. I said, you want to be a warrior? He said, yeah. I said, so let's put these on. Let's put on the tefillin. He looked at me and goes, okay. So I'm like, okay. So I got up, strapped him up, the tefillin, put on the tefillin with him.
That is a crazy story.
And then he started to say Shema, and he broke down crying in the middle of the Shema. And I was like bewildered. I was like going nuts. Like, talk about min hakatza from one extreme to another.
And you like stripped away and went touched his neshama.
Pink right there, and he started crying. He said the Shema, and we talked about vidui, and we talked about the concept of cremation. And he said, look, Rabbi, honestly, it doesn't mean anything to me. If it's important to you that I shouldn't be cremated, fine.
Wow.
So I'll tell my mother. Okay, fine. So then at the end of that meeting, which was a very intense meeting, it's like, how do you say, first of all, the state gave me 2 hours in the end. It wasn't 30 minutes, It stretched. I'm like, so how do you end such a visit, right? So I'm like, listen, my friend, Eretz Hashem, one day we'll meet again. I don't know where or when, but Eretz Hashem, we believe Mashiach will come every single day. Should be right now. But I just want to bless you. Chazak v'yamatz, be strong, and Hashem should be with you. Wow. And that's it.
Wow.
So then I'm
tearing up. It's crazy.
The end of the conversation was, I said, before I leave, can you do me one favor? He said, what is that? I said, can I give you a hug? He says, well, if it makes you feel better. I said, it'll make me feel very good. He said, okay, fine. And I gave him a big hug, and we embraced. And we ended the conversation. So the end of the story was, his mother called me, and I was nervous because his mother told me don't bring up the cremation. She didn't want me to bring it up because she said, So I'm like, so I thought, oh boy, she's gonna give me a musser now because I brought it up, So she's like, Rabbi Goldstein. I said, yeah. I just want to tell you something. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to sit there. Oh, what did I do now? She says, I just want you to know. My son was on death row for like 8 years, and he was treated like garbage. Could even see it on the videos on YouTube. He says, and the only person who put a loving hand on my son that whole time was you, because you gave him a hug. My son called me and he told me about the hug that you gave him.
Wow.
So now I know you care about him. So I decided I'm gonna sign the custody of his body towards you to do whatever has to happen. And Baruch Hashem, we raised some money in Houston, and in Dallas is where he was buried. That's where his family is from. And so the Chav Kedisha in Dallas got involved with the JFS there. We made a whole pact, a whole Gans of Isa together, and he was sent away like a Yid.
Wow. I could cry.
Is that an impactful story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Unbelievable.
So these are the gems that we deal with. You see, the inspiration of Yiddishkeit, man, comes alive.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I'm not crying, but I live it. So by me, it's an excitement.
It's wild.
It's like,
to end off our trip, we spent the night with Rabbi Walby. He showed us around his Torah Center, a space where the community comes together to be inspired. In addition to their in-person events, they broadcast their Torah to the world via podcast and live stream from their state-of-the-art media studio. Our trip to Texas taught me that no matter where you place a Jew throughout the world, you will find richness, each bringing God into their lives in their own unique way. And that's the beauty. Everyone can have a unique and wondrous connection with our Creator.